I have an interesting vlog topic to vlog about today. Something I really wanted to talk about because it's something I'm actually quite passionate about. It's villains. I love villains. I love playing villains. I love being the villain, rooting for the villain. But at the same time, I really hate the villain. Now, the reason for that is because when I often talk to people or I watch a movie, I notice that the villains are often very one-dimensional. And what I mean is that they're evil, they're going to take over the world, we have to stop them, I'm so evil. Yeah, that's just it. You're evil, I get it. What makes you human? What makes you a person? Everybody has a good and bad side. And to successfully write a character, I believe that you should give them both redeeming and forsaking traits. So when it comes to villains and their one-dimensional isms, I find it very hard to care about the villain dying or to fully appreciate the protagonist's winnings when it's so easy to disassociate with their foil. It's not good writing, in my opinion. It's just easy. I don't even know how to put it. You put so much detail into these protagonists and, you know, you fall in love with them and you really care and you just want them to kill the antagonist. And yeah, but what about the antagonist's feelings? So that's something that really bothers me. And when I talk to people about this, normally they'll be like, oh, well, they don't have time for that, they're just selfish and evil. And it's like, yeah, but those are two traits and this is a full person with memories and ambitions and motivations. There's a reason why they're the villain, you know? So, I have these two characters that JJ and I have been working on, Damien and Saphora. They're the villains for his story. It's his novel, but I'm illustrating it. And we really collaborate on the whole thing together. It's great. I love it so much. And I'm probably going to talk about it a lot on this channel because I don't really have an outlet for it right now since I'm in university. It's kind of hard to work on a big project by yourself. But anyway, so Damien and Saphora are the two antagonists of this artifact story. We've been calling it because there's no title yet. And when we first started creating them, they were different. Like, they were separate entities and they were in different factions. And I thought, well, you know, I really want these villains to be interesting. I don't want them to just be faceless. I remember when we were first coming up with the world and making the map and trying to get this order together, we were like, oh, alright, we need it like a Grandmaster of the Inquisition, because that's one of the things in the story. And I was like, alright, I have no idea who this is gonna be, because I don't want it to just be some guy with money. Like, oh, that's really original. That makes me interested in what's going on. No. And so I started conceptualizing royalty with JJ. We were playing Fable 3 and we thought about a monarch who is really ambitious and dark, and then I thought up a character who would be older than this monarch, a young monarch, and sway them into a darker path, I suppose. They ended up both being dark initially and they came together, and ultimately they're married. So when I talk to people and I say that they're married, for some odd reason people think that nullifies their power. I'm not quite sure why. I don't understand how feeling emotions or having a loyalty to somebody would be considered weak in terms of villains. In fact, it makes more sense. I'm kind of digressing here, but when you look back in history at very great rulers, you'll notice that a lot of them had large families and lineages and clans and pride for that. And that's precisely what I'm touching on, because I feel like that's a long forgotten piece of villains that people have really strayed away from. And it makes me upset. And I have appreciation for the villain who's just the selfish loner, but every single one of them is a selfish loner. So with Damien and Saphora, they work together, and they can't work without each other. That's the thing about them. I like that. It's different. It's new, you know? They're both very powerful magic users, and Saphora was born with her gift, but Damien obtained it through the means that she provided. And I find them interesting because although they're the antagonists, and believe me, you're going to want them dead, I want it to be so conflicting that by the time the protagonist ultimately meets up with them, you're going to have mixed feelings, because I fell in love with these two, even though they're bad people. And that's precisely what I want our audience to do. I know JJ feels the same way too. Like, our goal with these characters is not to make them cookie cutter, you know what I mean? Like, really trying to dish into the psychological and the mental and emotional and cultural things that make up a person, basically. And I think character writing requires that, because once you can get the audience to attach, then it's more effective as a story. It's more lasting. You'll remember it. But anyway, so Damien and Saphora are villains. They're evil in their own rights. Like, I don't know where to start with this. Like, Saphora is a sorceress, and she has the ability to control pure energy. So let's just say a ball of lightning or fire. She can control that. That's her thing. Now, at the same time, she's not all powerful, because there's certain spells or magic that she can't use or she can't affect. And Damien, he acquires the spell sword abilities, so he can conjure blades and weapons out of, like, fire. But that's the only thing he can do. So there's limitations to their power. And they work together as a couple, but they're really like a power couple, I would say. Like, they're also partners. There's people walking around outside. They're partners in crime, basically. And they need each other, which I like. Because I think I already said that. But if you ever thought about, like, I just find it interesting if a character couldn't succeed without another. And I think their ultimate downfall is when they betray each other. Well, start working in separate ways, because there's going to be something that makes them conflicted. They've had it too good for too long. And they're going to break apart what they had. And I think they're really going to realize that what they had was what would make it work. But now it's not going to work. I could probably rant about these characters forever. But anyway, I'm so curious about people going in and out. Okay, so I guess I could give a full explanation about them, but I don't know. I have a picture of them. These are concepts of them. I've had this hanging in my room for like 3 months. But yeah. I guess to summarize, I don't think villains having human characteristics make them worse or any lesser of people. I don't think them having a compassionate side or wanting families or to build relationships makes them any lesser of a person. And I don't think that developing very sensitive feelings between these two would be a bad thing, because I believe that the audience would connect better with them and maybe make them feel a little weird. Maybe people would even root for them instead of the protagonist. It makes it more interesting. I guess it's just because life isn't linear and so black and white. So I don't think characters should be black and white in terms of morale and cause and reason. Anyway, I don't want to give away too much about these two, so that's why I'm kind of being evasive. But yeah, villains. I'm probably going to talk about them in a separate video. So, that's my dialogue on villains.